Nonstop NBA DFS conversation starting now, taking y'all straight up the lock. Myself, Bobby Gomes, happy Friday. 10-game slate, not messing around. Big boy slate. No time for shenanigans. Lots of time for lots of body parts we're going to be monitoring here, Bobby. Going to go game by game in a second, but just worth noting, all the injuries we're monitoring right now. Damian Lillard, a midday downgrade with the calf. And we don't even know if that's real or if it's not real. And there's already been threats of him getting shut down. Does he get shut down tonight? I don't know. We'll see. It is a home game on a Friday night, which seems kind of lame to do that, but you never know. We have SGA on the back half of a back-to-back. Seems likely he's going to go. There's some rumors they would shut him down on back half of back-to-back, but it seems likely, and they're also in the mix for, getting a playoff spot. I guess OKC wants it. Who knows? And also, they got walloped last night, so he only played so many minutes. Embiid and Harden are on the West Coast, and they're both questionable, and Doc Rivers almost definitely is not going to help us out and give us news. So that's going to drop at some point in the middle of the slate. We do have DeRozan out, some Charlotte shenanigans. They were down to like 7 live bodies last night, whatever it was, because of just losing players left and right due to injury. Oubre's questionable with his shoulder. Terry Rozier's got a foot. He's doubtful. Basically, a scheduled blowout here versus Dallas. And speaking of Dallas, Kyrie is questionable and THJ is questionable. Toronto, we may see value open up. Who knows? Scotty Barnes questionable once again. It's a lot going on. I'm curious. Welcome, Bobby. You picked a good show to come back. I don't think you were here this week, or I feel like this is your first show this week. I feel like
it's my first show this week. Yeah, we get all this.
Lucky
news.
You.
Fantastic. Thank you, me. Yeah.
This is a good one, man. By a good one, it's going to be a mess. But this is kind of like what we, 10 gamer. It feels like we've had a bunch of 6, 7, 5. 10's been a while since we've had 10. This is a monster of a slate, and it's really backloaded too. There's 10 games on the slate, and throughout the week it's like one late night game, and now we have 4 at 10, and 1 at 9. Minnesota and Utah, which looks pretty appealing as well. Both teams missing some valuable pieces. We'll talk about this. I think it's the theme of the slate. I think it's a really good idea to backload. If there's tiebreakers, go with the later player. And of course, we'll talk about Washington in a second. He's like well-positioned, not match up against San Antonio. And they're also missing 2 of their top 3. And I just want to have that conversation because Washington looks really good right now, but some of that stuff can look worse by comparison if dominoes fall a certain way. Yeah. So how do you feel about this slate on the whole? Because that's kind of my thought, and we'll have that conversation. You got to be really, really good for me to play you at 7 o'clock and 7:30 is sort of where I'm at right now. And then it's this tricky sort of now it's an optimals, but would it be if we ran it at 10 o'clock with all the news? Maybe not. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the same. Waiting for these what-if projections to upload. But, yeah, the 7 p.m.s and the 7:30 games going to be tough to really get to with the late news. I don't know, currently, the Portland Dame situation, Eubanks, if Sharp were to start, I think that's pretty important. Sharp played fantastic the other day. Currently in our projections, I was seeing Levine and some of this. I think it was just Bulls news. I don't know how much Levine I want to get, but
DeRozan's out, and it's a nice
DeRozan's out.
Portland,
yeah, so Vooch. But yeah, that's a 10 p.m. game, so maybe it's going to be Levine's just been. It's been a difficult roster for me all season, Levine.
Understood.
So we're gonna have to weigh that. But yeah, then I think there's news in terms of the Lakers. Really like Austin Reeves. He's been playing well. So yeah, Milwaukee has some stuff going on. It's gonna be an interesting slate.
Yeah, Austin Reeves might be good. He might just be a good player. So he's been playing awesome of late, and Russell is questionable, and I think that would open up Reeves even more. And like you said, we'll have our what if stuff. At some point, they can't do everybody because it's an insane list of players that are questionable. But hopefully, you get some what if scenarios that are good for the conversation. Yeah, D'Angelo Russell is questionable. We are getting Poku back in that game, by the way. Pokuševski back from the G League. He's 3K on DK. I don't know how much you need that, but I think it's an interesting roster. OKC played 12 guys in the first half yesterday. I mean, come on. What if they're not DFS friendly? And it's also the back half of back-to-back. Portland, the Lillard thing is so weird. Maybe he's actually injured. I don't know. But there was also the Chris Haynes report basically said he's going to get shut down at some point if things don't turn around. I think there's 12th or 13th right now. They're outside the play-in nonsense. Simons and Grant are already out. Nurkic is doubtful. They are getting Little back. But, I mean, there is a potential value in Portland. Not really sure what it's going to be. It could be Sharp season if Lillard doesn't go. He might start anyway. We're projecting him to start right now. He's like a fine play that can get elevated for sure. That's what this backloading. And I think Embiid, he's obviously super expensive in this slate. There's a lot of great, spend ups. But Embiid, if Harden doesn't go, and Harden didn't practice, Embiid did for what it's worth. And like he didn't come back out of the game. Well, he was in the locker room basically. They're walloping. Was it Charlotte? They're beating somebody up pretty good.
Yeah.
And I guess they just didn't bring him back. Who knows why? Maybe he was legit hurt. Maybe they didn't need him. And also, I totally buy into like the theatrics of him trying to win the MVP. I mean, this is a marquee, if you want to call it a marquee game, against Golden State. It's not national TV, but it's NBA TV, right? Because this would typically be the ESPN, doubleheader. Almost definitely this would be an ESPN game, but obviously a lot of eyeballs are on the NCAA tournament, so no ESPN or TNT this week, but NBA TV. That's as close as national TV we're getting. It just feels like a game where Embiid's going to show up and just crush, and it's like, oh man, he's doing this when he was kind of hurt. Definitely going to give this guy the MVP. Which I think he's going to win. Momentum for whatever it's worth. Momentum's on his side. Phoenix, Sacramento is an awesome environment. Milwaukee, Utah, I'm actually really interested in with Holiday being out. No, Middleton being out. And then, of course, on the other side, no Markkanen and no Jordan Clarkson. I think it's an interesting little game stack. It is the front half of a back-to-back for Milwaukee, and it's that weird, that tough Utah in Denver, which is that's like one of the toughest places back-to-back in the association historically. But that game's close. Maybe we just see Giannis not play tomorrow or something like that. There's a lot going on. We'll get through it. Anything else that's worth mentioning before we go around game by game?
That's pretty much it. Porzingis is going to look like a fantastic play. We'll get into that. Bunch of stuff, really. But yeah, like the 7 p.m.s, like you said, the backload situation might be the way to go on the slate.
Yeah, so the very first game is 2 7 o'clock games, I believe. Yes, first one, Indiana in Boston, 236 is the total. Boston's 11-point favorite here. As far as the Celtics, they are fully healthy, unless you want to count Peyton Pritchard. I guess he's not officially ruled out. I think he's doubtful. Doesn't matter. Tyrese Halliburton's got that ankle. He's questionable. Duarte also has an ankle. They're both questionable. I don't know how much that matters. Just as this slate, again, from my perspective, I love Tatum. I'm not going to tell you can't play Tatum. I love Brown. I'm not going to tell you can't play Brown, right? They're fabulous plays. It's a good matchup versus Indiana. But you have to be a phenomenal player for me to lock you in at 7. I don't think I'm doing anything with Indiana. I guess McConnell can become interesting if both Halliburton and Duarte get ruled out. I suppose that's worth a look. If everybody is in for Indiana, I have no interest in anybody. 9-4 for Halliburton, like him too, but I can't see him beating everybody at his price tier to make him worthwhile. Do you have a similar thought point as far as Indiana? Feel free to jump over to Boston as well.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get to Indiana today unless Halliburton and Duarte are out, and then some of these guys probably open up a little bit. Right now, they're all priced pretty efficiently. Buddy Hield at 5'9", I think that's a good price tag, but it is a 10-game slate, right? So there's not too much I want here. McConnell would pop up if Duarte and Halliburton were out. I just think there's going to be better value overall. There's going to be games in the slate or teams and games on the slate where we can kind of cut through because there's just going to be better options being that it's a 10-game slate. I do think on the Celtics side, Al Horford at 5'6". I don't want to get too bogged down on the 7 p.m. games. I don't mind that price tag. And also Tatum or Brown, I think I would prefer Tatum at 10-8. Can always play Tatum, but he's definitely falling behind the majority of studs for me.
Yeah, Robert Williams being back. We're giving him 21 minutes. You mentioned Horford. I was just curious how much you think Williams is going to get. I guess he's not quite there. There's no real reason to push him in this game anyway. 21 to the Time Lord, the most likely person to get rostered on Boston according to our ownership stuff. And for what it's worth, it's as of 3:30 East Coast time. So we're going to get a refresh soon. Obviously, new information coming in throughout the day. we'll get a new batch of ownership. But right now, Tatum's getting 7%, Smart getting 5%. This is DK specific for what it's worth. I believe that correlates with FanDuel as well. And basically nobody getting ownership in Indiana. 2.5% to Miles Turner. Healed at 1. They're just not really pushing these guys. Obviously 28 minutes to Turner, 30 to Heal. There's no real reason to do it either. It's just, they're not getting enough minutes, and the matchup's not great. And that's that. We got 10 games. I don't have much else to say. You got anything else here? Or are we moving on?
That's it. We're moving on, Dean.
Let's move on. This is the tricky one, right? San Antonio versus Washington. 228 is the total of Spurs. Just 8-point dogs, which seems kind of low considering it's San Antonio. They're on the road. I know Washington, of course, they're without two of their big three. No Bradley Beal, no Kyle Kuzma. We're expecting the starting lineup to be Morris, Kispert, Avdia, Porzingis. Porzingis is going to be one of the most popular studs on this slate. We'll check his ownership in a second. Gafford as well. As far as San Antonio, I don't know, man. We have Zach Collins questionable, Devin Vasal's questionable, Sohan's out. Are they playing tomorrow? I meant to check if they're on the front half of a back-to-back. Devontae Graham's available. McDermott's available. Langford's out. Bassey's done for the year. Keldon Big Body Johnson expected to play. He's expected to be available as far as San Antonio. But the real conversation here, right, is Washington without two of their big three. And, there's Porzingis. And Porzingis is popping right now. I think he's good, throughout the entire day. Not a lot's going to fall where it's going to be like, oh, wait, now Porzingis is not a good play. 28% current ownership right now on DK. I think that might be a little bit low. But, again, that stuff might change depending on new information coming in. Danny Avdia is getting 25%. Monty Morris, 21%. I ran some optimals before the show, and we were getting 3 Wizards in them. Some even had 4, which to me is too many. How are you handling Washington again with the assumption that stuff later might get better than what we have right now? And it's just you gotta hold and you gotta be patient, I think, to some degree. But also Porzingis is great, and Avdia is great, and yada yada.
Yeah, so for me, Porzingis 35% usage rate without Beal and Kuzma out there. So he's pretty much a very strong play. I find it really difficult to get away from him. On the other hand, Kispert's going to be starting. Not that really affects anything, but he's just another. I don't think I'm playing. It would be Porzingis and Gafford, and then basically going from there. I don't love Monty Morris. Played too much of him the other night. Gafford, though, I think it's a pretty good situation for him. Trying to figure out if 6K is too much for Denny Avdia, but we've seen the usage increase in situations like this, even when he's coming off the bench. So I'll definitely have him in my player pool. But Porzingis, far and away, I think is the best play, followed by Gafford. In larger field stuff, you can make a case for DeLon Wright. I know we're getting a bunch of these guys. I just don't know how many I'm willing to play. You said you weren't comfortable playing more than 3.
I don't think I'm playing more than 2.
I don't think I'm playing more than 2 either. I'm trying to run our Opta right now, but I'm having difficulty for some reason.
So the very first one on DK, for what it's worth, currently has Monty Morris, Denny Avdia, Porzingis, and Gafford. Gafford is 4-7. We're giving him 26 fantasy points, which is fine, right? It's a good matchup here against San Antonio. Morris, he's 4-9, getting 28 fantasy points. Again, that's fine, but I just think that can be jumped pretty easily. Wright and Morris, I believe they did not overlap last game, if I'm not mistaken, so that cuts the ceiling a little bit, assuming that stays going forward. Obviously, San Antonio, worst defense in the league. They play, I think, the 6th fastest pace, so it's a good matchup. I don't want to lock in 4 players at 7 o'clock, especially guys what is Monty Morris really going to do? How is he going to break the slate? He's a guy that probably doesn't hurt you, but I don't know if he actively
hurt me the other night. I'll tell you that much. I had a lot of very live lineups, and then there was Monty Morris.
That was a revenge game too, wasn't it? That was against Denver, if I'm not mistaken.
I did play a little of the revenge. The revenge aspects kind of snuck into my head. I don't know why I thought that was actually. I don't know. Maybe I'm a fish.
I don't remember what his exit was in Denver. I feel like it wasn't great, but that's kind of where I'm at on that. I just don't want to play again. I think stuff's going to get better. I like Avdia a good bit, almost a fantasy point per minute player. I would imagine, well, he's like 0.87, 0.9, and I would imagine it gets better. I didn't run it, but I ran the stuff on Porzingis, which is outrageous. But you'd imagine that Avdija is going to improve. And again, the matchup you got to figure as well in his favor, playing 30 minutes or so. So I like him a good bit. I don't think I'm playing more than 2 in a lineup as far as Washington. And when it comes to the Spurs, I guess it's obviously wait and see. We'll see what we have. But as of right now, I'm not in on the Spurs. Their prices have adjusted. 6.5 for Devin Vassell. Come on. He's the most popular guy we're getting right now on DK at 3%. Keldon Johnson is 7.9. I know Zach Collins has been good, and I know it's a good matchup against Washington, but 6.6. And they're never going to get fully pushed here in San Antonio. I don't really see anything on the Spurs that I have to have. It's just sort of what I'm saying.
There's nothing that you have to have. If Vassell's out, Jones and Branham are gonna. You could probably put them in your player pool, but we don't want to get too bogged down on these 7 p.m. games like we talked about. Also, if Collins were to sit, Sandro might become a good play. I think Sandro would probably be my favorite from the Spurs in that situation, but not trying to play too many of these 7 p.m.s.
How much is Sandro? I didn't check.
He's 48. The thing is, he's 4,800. It's not even a good price. Eubanks at 3.4 later on, and he's center only, Sandro. So yeah, I don't know if I'd be super interested in trying to get if he had dual eligibility, I'd probably have more interest, but he doesn't. Currently.
Yeah, he's been pretty good in his limited time, Mamu Kelashvili, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm locking that in at 7 o'clock and paying 4.8 for him. It's fine, and that's under the assumption that Collins being questionable should matter. I'm trying to see if we have a what if set up. Maybe we have something for that game. We tend to have them coming in right around now, and then I'll give a peek here at the premium. Let's see, what ifs. Okay, I'm clicking. I'm sure we have some players listed. Do we have Kyrie Irving? We'll talk about it. Tim Hardaway, Russell. If Russell sits, we really like Dennis Schroeder. That's interesting. Kelly Oubre, if he's out, and I think he's going to be out. That's the other thing is Dennis Smith looks like a ridiculously good play today. I had a good bit of him yesterday. It did not work out. I believe he got ill. He got sick. He was one of the Charlotte of several Charlotte players that could not finish that game. They finished with 2 bigs. Right? It was a blowout, and I think they had both Kai Jones and Richards closing. It didn't matter, but they had a weird, funky lineup out there because those are basically the last guys standing for the Hornets. They did call up a couple of their players from the G League as well. I think Taylor Maladon and somebody else as well. I can't think who it was, but yeah, DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be super, super popular. And I think he projects well right now. And I think that projection is going to get even stronger against Dallas. We have a Harden projection. We don't have anything as far as this game for San Antonio, but of course, we'll have the projections, when stuff gets updated. And I'm doing a refresh now on Lineup HQ, and got to keep an eye on Twitter to see if any news is coming in. I believe it'll be trickling in through, if not during this portion of the show, but of course, crunch time in about an hour. Peyton Pritchard officially ruled out. That doesn't matter, but I guess worth noting. Your favorite? Can you just rank the Washington guys one more time? I know you kind of did, but just
Porzingis, Gafford, Denny, Monty, DeLon. That would be pretty much my rankings. But I think we're both in agreement that you're just playing 2 of these guys.
Yeah, I think that's the move. And I don't think you have to have a run back on San Antonio.
Is the RG Opto working for you? Because I'm trying to run it, and for some reason, nothing's working.
Yeah. Let me see. I'll run it again, but I believe
it's going to be on my end. Then I don't know what
let's see. Projections last updated at 5 o'clock. I'm giving it a refresh. I'm making 139 lineups for no particular reason. Don't ask me why I picked that number. We're pumping them out, and I'll let you know what's showing as far as hitting most lineups. And I cap it at 77%. You cannot be in more than 77% of lineups. And again, the Opto, as of a half hour ago or 20 minutes ago, we had 2 or 3 or 4 Washington players, which, I understand why it's doing it. You can't just assume that certain players are going to be out, but I think good stuff opens up. First one, by the way, 77%. You know who's hitting my cap? I have 2 players hitting the cap. The aforementioned Drew Eubanks on Portland, and Dennis Smith Jr. is already hitting it. So those 2 guys are hitting it. And the first Opto has 3 Wizards, Morris, Avdia, Porzingis. The second one has 3, then 2. Okay, so there's 4. Okay, 4 comes in play. But again, there's no way I'm playing 4 Washington players. So just no chance on this slate. Let's move on. 7:30. We have just one 7:30 game. Just one 7:30 game. Detroit versus Toronto. 224 is the total. Toronto, 15-point favorite against Detroit. Again, another potential schedule blowout. Also, some body parts we have to monitor. The Detroit side, Jalen Durant expected back today, so I assume that means we're not going to see 49 minutes of Marvin Bagley, despite the fact he's a negative 30. I'm not bitter about that one at all. He absolutely destroyed the slate. Corey Joseph is not feeling well. They kicked him out. Alec Burks not playing. Magruder not playing. But they get Livers. Livers is back. So they do looks like we have 10 guys in the rotation. The price is kind of bumped up in Detroit. The more interesting side in this game is Toronto. We saw last game, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, Precious Achiuwa all out. They're all questionable tonight. We'll monitor that. When they were all out, they actually started Will Barton, who, I fell for that trap. He's been like horrendous, like legit maybe the worst player in the league this year, if not the worst on the Family Feud board of the worst players in the league. And he was terrible last time out, and they benched him because of it. Malachi Flynn took over in the fourth, basically kicked Barton to the bench. We saw tight rotations, FVV smash, Pascal smash. We're probably going to see tight rotations again, a potential blowout on layaway. Again, 15-point favorites against Detroit. As of right now, there's a lot of if-then stuff, obviously, with Toronto. Where do you stand when it comes to the Pistons and Toronto?
Yeah, Will Barton the other night. Oh, baby. Yeah, everyone played Will. Everyone was expecting that news. It was a tough scene. I have a buddy who's actually cousins with Will Barton.
Okay.
He's a good player. I don't want to break it to him that hasn't been the greatest this year. Maybe he probably knows at this point, but yeah, I don't know.
Good.
For me, like these bigs, like I wonder total for tournaments at 7,200 if people are going to play him. I doubt they're really going to play him. I feel like he could be interesting, especially if we get news that Barnes is out. Just because Detroit front court's pretty big, and then it's a really good matchup versus Detroit. If Barnes is out, we have the what if projections. Like I am pretty sure it gets very good from this Toronto side. Like you get, obviously everyone's going to get a bump. Siakam, Van Fleet, OG will get a minimal bump in that case. But yeah, there'll be guys that I'll be looking to play, get into my tournament pool. Any thoughts for you on the Toronto guys?
I mean, Boucher, he's the guy. I got a ton of Boucher last game. He didn't really score a lot. He played a fair bit of minutes. He good stocks guy, and I think he would mop up in this game too. I'm trying to see. Mostly mop up, I guess. There are some other guys. I guess they would give like Weiskamp and Thad Young some run, but Koloko might get some run. But I think there's a decent chance if this game gets ugly, Boucher is part of making it ugly and also sticks around the longest amongst like the quote unquote, like he's not a starter, but you know what I mean, like the guys in the rotation. They basically have like 7 or 8 guys in the rotation for Toronto, so the rotation should be tight. Again, assuming that Barnes, Trent, and Precious, if all 3 of those are out, I think Boucher becomes pretty interesting. Now he's not 3K anymore, or whatever he was, like 3.8, I think it was. He's now 4.5 on DK and 4.9 on FanDuel, but pretty good fantasy point per minute player. And I don't really know how well he'd be projected, just the way the slate kind of lines up. But I think you're supposed to get some shares in tournaments. We've certainly seen him get loose in like 40-point games before, and it wouldn't shock me. You don't expect it, but it's in the realm of possibilities. And like you said, everybody else gets lifted too. FEV looks awesome. Like right now, he's fine, but again, he's kind of early. I would like him more if more players are out, and I could just see him absolutely smashing this Detroit team. But how long did they let him smash for? 15-point game. We'll see how that goes. It's the NBA, so it certainly could be a 7-point game. I believe they lost to Indiana that last game, which is a terrible loss for them. I know they were missing some players, but they're trying to win. And they couldn't beat the Pacers. I believe that game was at home too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Malachi Flynn got 18 minutes in the second half the other day. So if you're expecting blowout, maybe he gets some run. Don't mind him in larger field stuff. The Boucher call, I played 90% Boucher. I played more Boucher than I played Will Barton, which was, I guess, the right decision. I ended up playing Barton at the field, but I think Barton was on the winner in the 777 anyways. I think
Really?
JSU had him on him. Yeah, it had Barton. People just slammed Barton once they knew that news was coming, I feel like. Gary Trent at 5.2. If he doesn't play and Barnes does, I think I would have interest in that price tag. Yeah, 5.2 I think is a good price for Trent if Barnes is out as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some if-then stuff to monitor there. By the way, we did have an update. Hit refresh on Lineup HQ. Hopefully it's working for you. We got an update as far as ownership as of 5:24 on the East Coast. Projections, again, updated as of like 25 minutes ago or so. So the ownership stuff will be more accurate. Again, it will be changing. No surprises as far as the Washington lineup. We got Morris, Kispert, Avdia, Porzingis, Gafford starting as predicted. Let's see if we had any change as far as so Detroit is getting like no ownership. 5% is the most we have as far as Hayes. Bagley's all the way up to 7-1, and he's only projected for 30 minutes again because Jalen Duran is back in the rotation. I don't really have anybody. It's not a great matchup against Toronto. Nobody in Detroit for me. I mean, I'm not playing a bunch of lineups. I don't think I'm getting anybody in Detroit.
I think Detroit's a cross-off, even if you're playing lineups, a ton of lineups. Maybe if you get the Barnes news and you think it's going to be closer. Like, this seems like a scheduled blowout, and if you want to run back some of those guys, Jaden Ivey or Marvin Bagley makes sense, but I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. Like, I don't want too many of these Detroit guys.
Just interesting where we're at as far as ownership, and again, something to change, but Pirtle being 1.5%, Pascal being 1%, just, it's not really hard to get over that. And like both those guys can really smash, and both those guys can play a boatload of minutes here.
They've been, I think Pirtle, that ownership's likely too low for Pirtle.
I think so too. And center is strong. Obviously, it's a strong position. There's the opportunity cost, but that does seem a little bit low. And I know Porzingis center eligible. I assume people are going to throw him in the power forward spot, and our projections really like Eubanks. So I think he's center and center only. So that's probably one of the reasons why center is getting pushed down. But that seems too low. 1.5%. Yeah, like if you're running a bunch of lineups, you got to get at least 6 or 5. Like, that's not. I don't know. What's your thought process on that? Like, in your brain, what would you put Pirtle at?
I would be over on Pirtle. I'd probably get him to 5 or 6%, like you said, maybe to 10, depending on like where this ownership. I don't know if I can get 10x on a 1% guy that I think's in a really good spot. I might take that shot if I'm playing 150.
Houston, Memphis, the only 8:00 game. Houston is a big dog here, 13-point dog, 233.5 is the total. As far as Memphis, they are getting Dylan Brooks back tonight from his suspension. Clark and Adams, of course, still not playing. The only issue with Houston really is Jayshawn Tate. Kaminsky's questionable. That doesn't matter. They did sign DJ Augustine. I don't know if he's going to get any run, but good for DJ Augustine. All right. So the most interesting thing to me on this game is Ja Morant played 24 minutes in his first game back. He came back off the bench. And we've never seen, well, I don't want to say never, but I can't remember the last time Ja's been less than 9K on DK. He's 8-9. And he wasn't like injured, right? He had some conditioning, some ramping up. What I'm getting at here, Bobby, like, what if Ja plays 30 minutes here versus Houston? Like, why can't he? It's possible he starts and plays 30 minutes against Houston, and he's 8-9, and he's currently 1% owned. Now, if he's coming off the bench, I'm a little scared off. I'm probably fully scared off. But I think he's a really, really interesting tournament play. I know the slate is loaded. I know there's a lot of competition for big spends. But, nut matchup versus Houston Friday night, maybe they start him, and they're not going to announce that until after the 7 o'clock stuff, right? Some games are already be locked in. I think you're supposed to get some Ja and like some large field stuff is what I'm getting at.
I actually think from a game theory perspective, this is the most interesting spot on the slate just because of the price of Ja. Like you said, we haven't seen him under, like, he's under 9K on DK. Someone just said he's a lock. I think if he's starting, he is a lock at 8,900. So for me, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people are going to play Porzingis. You wait on this Ja news, like, obviously they're different positions. I think Ja is the guy that I really want to get overweight on this slate, just because where do we have his ownership currently?
1%.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of Ja. I think it makes sense to have a lot of Ja. I think we can expect him to start. If not, you have the late. You can always late swap.
Would you swap off him if he's not starting? I think I would, because like not only is he not starting, but this game is a high chance of blowing out. So he's not going to like close if it blows out, and he's not going to start the first and not going to start the third. So like, when is he playing? Right. So that's sort of my thought process. A little bit afraid, but I think if he starts, it's a really, and we're projecting 24 minutes for the record. We're not giving him a bump, which I'll bet the over on 24 minutes. Just come on. I'm out here to yell at the projection guys. They do a fabulous job. And maybe
I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to
to
play more than 24 as well. There's no reason for him not to, right? It's not an injury. It's not an illness. Like, obviously we all know what the situation is. Hopefully there's no good strip clubs in Houston, which I think there are some pretty good strip clubs in Houston.
We'll get asked Roth about it. Roth comes on later. I'm sure. Well, I don't know. He lives in Houston. I don't know.
But I think previously it was James Harden. Didn't he like Houston because there was good strip clubs, or I don't know.
There's already rumors that Harden's going back to the Rockets. I'm not sure if he likes the young Rockets core or if he likes what the city offers. I couldn't tell you. But yeah.
We were going to go to that strip club with the live final in Denver. I didn't end up
Slippy Willie's or Slippery Pete's or something. What was it? Something Willie or something Pete.
Yeah. People ended up going. I didn't go. I was going to go. But
yeah, I like you're saying this in case like your girlfriend's watching it. I was responsible.
You probably hear this, but she doesn't. Whatever.
I didn't give in to the peer pressure. I stayed home and watched Netflix.
Yeah. Stayed home and watched Netflix.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is we have to acknowledge the Spurs now. I was hoping we didn't have to, but they're kicking people out. Oh, so no Devontae Graham's available, McDermott's available. We expected that. Trey Jones available, but no Devin Vassell and no Collins. Johnson in too, Keldon that is. But Mamashkidis like, okay, I'm curious what those guys are going to project. No Devin Vassell. All right. I guess we'll see what the projection team has for that. But you might be playing some Sandro after all with no Collins. And I think also the matchup just gets better if you're considering Gafford. I feel like Collins is a little. I could be wrong on that. I don't know defensively. I don't think it matters. Just watching some Spurs stuff, Collins seems like he's okay inside, but he's probably not. I have not looked like at his defensive metrics. By the way, we saw this is a rematch. We saw this game a couple days ago where Triple J crushed this Houston team. He's also getting like 1% ownership, but just seems weird to me. Good matchup against Houston. I mean, the price is pretty fair. 8-2 on DK. I think he's 9K on Fanduel, a little bit tougher. But again, this is another guy I think you're supposed to be more than 1%. The matchup here against Houston.
Yeah, I think so too. His floor is going to be lower than a lot of the guys in his range, but also the ceiling is tremendous, especially in the spot like we saw the other night. So I don't mind Triple J. Sengun, I don't mind either center is loaded, but on the other side, on the Rocket side, like I don't mind getting some Sengun. KJ Martin, I think, is an interesting punt on the Rocket side as well. The main piece, though, for me is Morant. Like, I think Morant starts. I think these minutes are wrong. We have him for 24. I'd like to know where everyone else kind of has him right now around the industry, because if he's going to be that low owned, under 9K, that's an issue. Like, that's something you definitely want to get leverage on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm sure the projection team's waiting to see like if there's any sort of announcement of like if he jumps in the starting lineup, of course that's going to change. Like he'll probably get projected for maybe 30, I'm guessing. Yeah, I'll take the over on 24. If it's 26, he probably doesn't get there. And again, there's a slew of players that are worth paying up for, and you're supposed to be selective. And if you can poke holes, I don't think I'm getting there if he's coming off the bench, but if he's starting, I think he's really interesting. And like ownership would change if he's starting, and depending on when it comes out and that kind of thing. Let's see. Halliburton's in. Okay. And Duarte is out, which to me means I think I can just ignore Indiana. We've seen Halliburton come back and like play full minutes in games. So I guess you can play him if you want to. Like if you want to run it back with like, if you like Horford, if you like Tatum, if you like Brown. But okay, I don't think I'm getting there. Again, 7:00 game, not a great matchup. And, coming back from injury, what's Indiana's incentive? Are you playing any Halliburton?
Am I playing any Halliburton? And not current, like we already talked about. I don't want to get too bogged down in these 7 p.m. games.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And even if that game was even played like at 8 o'clock, I probably wouldn't be in on it. But, that's strictly large field, like heavy, top payment, that kind of thing.
You can always play Halliburton. Like we don't, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Şengün. Is there anybody else on Houston you think is worth a shout out?
Jalen Green and Porter, but they're not. They're just all. I feel like they're just in play like usual. They're not guys that I'm going out of my way to get to. It's Morant or Triple J for me in this game. Maybe some.
We've seen Tillman's minutes for Memphis be a little wonky and just kind of a little bit scattered. If you're considering Tillman, I'm not. I just don't trust it. It just seems so unnecessary. He is priced down. He's down to 4.7, I guess, but he's not been closing some games for several reasons, and just I don't trust him. And I saw in chat, I didn't mean to neglect it, but Desmond Bane, really good defense versus archetype matchup here. 11% ownership, most popular play in this game currently. And I guess you can make the argument that Bane might actually benefit from the Morant being on the court because Ja would draw attention and therefore get Bane. What is he best at? Wide open threes, right?
So Morant also has the same matchup.
Yeah, well, I think Morant says like bench matchup, right? I was looking at that. Is that what they kind of gave him? Or yeah, I guess you're right.
They gave him bench, but it's still combo guard for starters too.
Correct. But Houston also gives up the most 3-pointers, in the league versus everybody else, and that's what Desmond Bane does. And for sure, we can get like a 6 3-point night at a Desmond Bane. It wouldn't surprise any of us. So I think he's somebody that certainly should be in your pool. Anything else worth acknowledging as far as this game, or shall we move on?
Oh, we can get a move on.
All right. I think we don't have Rasheer in our projections. Okay, good. That's what I thought. Charlotte, Dallas, 227, another scheduled blowout, right? Charlotte, 14-point dogs. DSJ is already popping. We're expecting Rozier not to play. To be fair, he's not officially ruled out. He's currently doubtful. But doubtful, like our projection team's going to lean out. They're getting Mark Williams back with his thumb. I believe we're starting him in the projected starting lineup. We're giving Dennis Smith Jr. the start as well. Kelly Oubre is questionable with a shoulder. Do we have anything on him?
If he's out, Gordon Hayward would get the biggest bump.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because Hayward's like a good math play. He's definitely a good math play, but he's also to me like one of the first guys off the court when this game blows out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to handle Hayward is sort of where I'm at. But like projection wise, even right now, he's 5.7 on DK, projects about 28 fantasy points. That's fine. Dennis Smith right now is projecting for 37 Fanduel points, 32 minutes. Revenge game, right? He played in Dallas. I believe he played in Dallas. 59% ownership currently. And I saw somebody in chat asking about basically, is that too high of ownership considering the blowout? And they did call up a couple guys from the G League, and maybe Dennis Smith wouldn't get the close in another game. He probably doesn't because Theo Maledon got called up and Book Knight got called up, and both those guys are I think they're both point guards, or at least one's. Yeah, I guess Maledon's a point guard. They have McGowan's, who's also a shooting guard, young player. I think they signed him recently. They extended him recently. So Smith probably doesn't close if this game gets ugly. So that's an interesting decision point. But I just think that he's too cheap and he's going to run the offense. And the numbers are going to look even better when Oubre gets kicked out. And I think that's going to happen too. Yeah. What are you doing here with Charlotte? How much are you concerned about a blowout as far as DSJ? Are you going to be over or under as of right now as far as the 60% ownership projection?
I think I'll currently be slightly under in my 150. I do think that Luka, if Irving were to sit here, it's very interesting. You definitely want to get you want to be running Luka back. Obviously, you're going to probably get DSJ. If Oubre is out, you're going to get DSJ, Gordon Hayward. One of these guys are going to be in an interesting spot to run him back with. So, yeah, I don't mind. And I think Luka is going to be this stud that kind of goes falls by the wayside because the blowout is expected. And I just think he possibly has the most upside on the slate. So I don't mind running it back when everyone thinks this game's going to blow out. DSJ, 5,200. I don't mind. I do worry if it does get to a situation where it is a blowout that he comes off. That's kind of why I'm deciding to be under, but I think the real way to approach this game is to play some Luka, and then obviously you're going to have your run backs just based on what's popping in projections. And I think it's a differentiated approach to this slate.
We're currently projecting 35 minutes for Luka, and we're also projecting Kyrie Irving to be in. He's questionable, and I think he's really questionable. And like, why in the world would you bring him back for this game?
I have the same thought process. Like, that's why I think that
he's not playing.
Yeah, he's not playing. And conversely, Luka's going to be a great play when everyone goes to Giannis. They go to Embiid. Like, no one's going to go to Luka.
Yeah. Also, THJ is ill too. I don't have a read on that, but I really think Kyrie there's no reason to push up in this game. Also, did you see how many minutes Luka played his first game back? First game back from injury in 7 or 8 games, whatever it was. Did you happen to catch it? 41. 41 minutes. Just give him 41. And again, we're projecting 35. There's a chance he plays, again, things got to crack a certain way, and Charlotte's got to keep this competitive somehow. But there's a chance Luka plays 39 minutes and there's no Kyrie, and he's currently 5% owned. And I love him in tournaments today. I will definitely be over the field on Luka. I think he's a fabulous play.
I think from a game theory perspective, it just makes so much sense, right? Because you already have the Charlotte value, and it increases if the game obviously stays close. Like, there's just a better chance of it hitting. And then who's going to be the beneficiary on the Dallas side? It's Luka.
Yeah. And that's kind of basically where I'm at. I suppose Hardy had a nice game last game. If both Irving and THJ are out again, Hardy, if he's got to shoot, he's got to score, Luka can set him up. That's okay. That's interesting. And I think Hardy would also mop up if this game gets ugly. Like, why not give him some run? He's not a starter. I don't think he would be a starter, right? And Wood maybe sticks around for a bit as far as, walloping this Charlotte bench, whatever's left of it. Just think it's worth noting there's some interesting pieces on Dallas. Stay tuned for that news. By the way, we're giving away a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. We did this yesterday. We're doing it every single day until baseball starts, which starts next Thursday. I want people to you get basketball as well, too. You get all the sports, football, baseball, basketball. That's XFL, football, sure. Golf, MMA, everything you can think of as far as DFS, with the exception of NASCAR. NASCAR is a la carte. How do you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium? Just jump into our Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Wait, did I say that correctly? I think so. And then go on the live stream chat channel. Go on the live stream chat channel and just hit the thumb. Producer Steve just says, here, click your thumb here, click the thumb up, acknowledge your presence. Your name will be on the wheel. We're going to draw that in about 15 minutes or so. Get yourself a week free. That's with the optimizer and the projections and the what if and the articles and everything, all the bells, all the whistles, everything you can think of, all the things we're referencing. Get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. Anything else as far as Charlotte, Dallas, or shall we move on?
That's it. Someone just asked in the chat on FD. You would know better than me. DSJ pivot to Smart. I don't know why you would want to do that, but maybe you could. Maybe there is something to it.
Would I play Marcus Smart instead of Dennis Smith Jr.? Is that the question?
Yeah.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would probably just go up or down, but I don't know if I go lateral with Marcus Smart unless there's somebody else I'm missing. But that's not the pivot.
Yeah, right? It's not the pivot. I'm looking at, I don't see why you do that on FanDuel from what I'm looking at right now.
All right. 30 minutes or so, give or take. We're gonna have the Crunch Time team come in. I see Will in chat. What's up, Will? I don't think Will is on that show today, but it's nice to see him participating as well. Everybody else in chat, welcome. Please join the conversation. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification, hit all the things. We do appreciate that with the old got to defeat the algorithm. Milwaukee and Utah. This is it's only a half hour later. Yeah, this is a really appealing game in my estimation. 236.5 is the total. Utah is at home. They're 10-point dogs, but they are thin. They're without Lauri Markkanen. They're without Clarkson. Even Sexton, of course, is still out. Rudy Gay doesn't matter so much, but he's out as well. And then the front half of a back-to-back, Chris Middleton is out. I assume he'll be back tomorrow night for their matchup versus Denver. A couple of fringe guys, Myers Leonard, Jay Crowder, also unavailable for Milwaukee. I think this is also a first blood revenge game for Joe Ingles, and he's sneakily one of the biggest trash talkers in the league. I'm not trying to tell you to play yourself some Joe Ingles, but he's going to be yapping out there for sure, if nothing else. Okay, ownership-wise, as far as this game, one of my favorite players, well, Giannis is another big spend, right? For sure, he's spectacular. For sure, the matchup against Utah is good. A little bit, better defensively inside these days as we progressed. We've seen the progression of Walker Kessler as a rim protector, but Giannis can get there in multiple ways. Of course, his rates get bumped in the absence of Middleton. We have a cheap Holiday as well. Drew Holiday on DK is 7-2, which I feel like we haven't seen him that cheap in a while. But the most appealing play, ownership-wise, kind of surprisingly to me, is Fontecchio for Utah at 20% at 4-4. It's fine, but not my favorite play in this game, but I understand with a normal salary cap. What is your assessment? I'm going to hold back my favorite play, but I'll yield to you first.
Yeah, I actually do like Fontecchio a little bit at 4-4. I do think that there is value on this Milwaukee side. You can go to Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen. You talked about Joe Ingles' revenge. I don't mind Javon Carter. I think he might find some minutes here on this situation. Obviously, the two plays that are going to hit optimals the most currently are Drew and Giannis, and then probably followed by Pat Connaughton. So, yeah, there's definitely plays on this Milwaukee side. On the Utah side, Fontecchio, like I said, don't mind him at 4-4. I think that's a good price. Agbaji, I always mess this guy's name up, but I think he's fine at 5-1. Kelly Olynyk at 6-6, just been playing incredible, out of his mind. He's pretty much doing, as crazy as it sounds, 20% usage rate, been playing heavy minutes in the front court. I don't mind getting to him. I think you make the same case for Kessler. There are guys in this game that I actually have interest in playing on the Utah side, and then, like I said, I think a lot of strong value pieces on the Bucks side as well.
So you did mention my favorite play in this game. My favorite play in this game is Kelly O. I think if this game stays close, Kelly O is like doing his thing where he just peppers the box score. 14, 15, 17 points, 7 or 8 boards, 7 or 8 assists, a couple stocks, a couple threes. He's going to have much more responsibility in this game too. We saw it a couple days ago. In the same scenario without Markkanen. I'm trying to think who it was against where he just put up a monster score. I know Milwaukee's a tough defense. It was against Sacramento, and obviously Sacramento, much more appealing opponent. But I just think that Kelly O is going to have the opportunity, and better to get him from the outside as opposed to the inside. So I like Kessler, but Kessler's not a guy that's going to necessarily get you to the outside. But he certainly can just get 6 or 7 stocks and like 12 or 13 boards and a couple dunks and putbacks, and he can get there that way too. THT is really, really cheap on Fanduel. I think he's got a really good Fanduel price, which is really strange to say because we're always like, this guy's a great play on DK, but not good on Fanduel. We've actually seen the inverse of that. He's 5-5 on Fanduel, which just seems really cheap. If you're playing over there, very strong play. 7-2 on DK. Again, we've seen this reversed all season long. It's just odd to see that. 45% ownership for THT on Fanduel. Kind of outrageous, but I also kind of get it. His ownership on DK, I think, is like, it's 1%.
I think that's going to come up. I think that'll come up a little bit.
Up from 1? Yeah, I guess I'll go from 1. It kind of has to.
Up from 1, it kind of has to.
Oh, boy. Chat says Barton is starting again. Have I missed Toronto news? That just come in? Oh, boy. Fool me once. Ain't going to fool me again. Precious out, Trent out, Barnes out. And we have Will Barr. Oh, God. FEV.
So we Barton, are playing some Toronto guys.
Yes, you're playing Toronto guys, but I don't think I have to do the Will Barton experience again. I don't think I have to. As he probably got priced up, too.
I think if Flynn is not, I think Flynn becomes interesting in this scenario. I also think that, this also brings into play, a guy like RJ Hampton on the Detroit side or one of these guys that can play blowout. I do think you have to consider some of these, or a Jaden Ivey or just a run back if we're getting all this value. Not that run backs are extremely important in NBA, but just want to look back at some of these Detroit guys because I feel like we glossed over them.
Did we not even – okay, so I'm looking for Flynn in our lineup HQ, and I'm typing his name in. We didn't project him for any minutes. He's 3-4. He's point guard and point guard only. And, again, the question is, on this slate, what does he have to give you to make it worth rostering him? If he gives you 22 or 3-4, is that good enough? I don't know.
I don't know. It becomes dicey.
Some sites, yes. Some sites, no. I think this might be a no. I think. Martin, by the way, is 4-1. He's no longer 3K. It's Detroit, though. We're
Yeah,
supposed to play some Boucher. We're supposed to play some FEV.
We're
some
definitely
Pascal.
playing Boucher and FEV. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, Toronto, like an OG, like all these Toronto guys look good. And I think I would rank Barton. I know he's the cheapest, but I think I would put him 5th amongst the starters. And I want Boucher before I want
Is there
Barton,
recency bias in that thought process, though?
He's been terrible all year.
I know he's been bad all year.
Maybe there is. I don't. What's the story? Well, what does Barton do? And he probably doesn't close. I guess he can. I don't know, man. I'm really curious where our projection team lies in this.
Is Trent in?
No. All 3 are out. All 3 that were questionable are all out. Same scenarios before.
Yeah, I like that price on Trent. I thinks he's out. Total Siakam, Barnes, but Total Siakam, Van Fleet are definitely guys that I want to have exposure to, and Boucher is definitely the best punt from the Toronto side. I think you can make a case for Flynn and larger field stuff.
Milwaukee, Utah, just to finish this one off, I really like the Olynyk play. He's coming in pretty low, less than 10%. Fontecchio, I don't mind. I wasn't talking poorly about him. Fontecchio and Agbaji are fine darts. I like a little game stack here of playing Giannis, Kellyo, and I don't know if I can get the THT on DK at 7-2. I guess I can, but I'm not going to force that. Dunn's okay at 5-5. Kessler's okay at 6-7. But maybe just Giannis and Kellyo. I might run that. We'll see how it turns out. Otherwise, shall we move on? Anything else?
Yeah, we can move on.
If you do not want to mess with such things as all the 27 body parts on this slate, what you can do is you can play over at Stat Hero. If you're not aware of Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete against the house instead of other players in a contest, head-to-head style contest, as well as pick'em style contest. You can also play in their brand new Searing 12 contest for a chance to win $10,000. Play and win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing every single day. Build your streak and win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RotoGrinders premium, and cash prizes as well. Nice, sweet deposit bonus to get you all started. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS, for a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. Again, Grinders, GRINDERS. That's the promo code, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. We have 4 games left. All these games start at 10 o'clock. You probably can make some pretty good lineups just from players from 10 o'clock, or maybe just plugging in your favorite 2 from the previous games. I'm really curious how it's going to go down. But now the Toronto stuff opening up, I don't know how much I'm going to have to backload, but yeah, really, really interesting slate. First one, awesome game. Phoenix, Sacramento, 239 is the total. Big boy total, high and tight, right? Phoenix, 4-point dogs here. As far as who is in and who is out in this one, pretty healthy. The Sacramento side, it's still Kevin Herter. He's expected to play, though, with his knee. So the rotation gets a little trickier as far as figuring out those minutes. We're getting Durant back soon. I think the report was possibly Wednesday, but today is not Wednesday, so we don't care. DeAndre Ayton is still out for Phoenix. Man, not a lot of ownership here because the best plays are expensive and there's nobody out, but the ceilings are certainly interesting here as far as Phoenix, Sacramento. The environment is spectacular. Love Booker, love Sabonis. I don't know how much I'm going to get to them is sort of my conundrum. What is your thought here as far as Phoenix and Sacramento?
Yeah, I think Booker's a very good play. Also really like Sabonis with you on both fronts. In terms of guys that it's just this is probably my least favorite of the 10 p.m. games, just because I feel like there's other opportunity elsewhere. But I think backloading makes sense, and if you are doing that, you're probably looking at some guys like Booker. I think Okogie at 5-2 is interesting on the Phoenix side. Biyombo at 4-9. I think these guys are somewhat playable. Jock Landale, another one at 3-7. I think he's a punt that you can consider. On the Sacramento side, I think Fox and Sabonis are just always good plays. Wouldn't play them together. Trey Lyles and Harrison Barnes, I think they make for good wing play. If you want to play small forward, Barnes for 4,800. People never play Barnes. We have him for 31 minutes. All he sees a boatload, goes under the radar. Don't mind him. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me from this game.
Ownership wise, let's see. We got as of 524, and not a lot coming in this game, despite the fact it's a good environment. It's just, again, everybody's just sort of priced where they should be. Booker coming in at 10-11% on DK. Paul at 11%. The highest number on Sacramento, you mentioned Harry Barnes. He's 4.8. Like, nobody ever seeks out Harry Barnes, but if he's sort of like the last guy to close out your lineup, I guess he's fine. 6%. Fox at 6. Sabonis at 3. Which, Sabonis been a triple-double machine of late. Always a threat, the triple-double. But, he's kind of pricey, and they are fully loaded. But that doesn't only affect him so much as far as every, Herter being in. We shall move on. There are 3 games left to go. After the next game, we will do the drawing and give away a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. I just dropped that link in chat, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Jump in there and just click the thumb. Producer Steve has left for y'all on the live stream chat channel. You'll be eligible. Your name will be on the wheel. We'll draw that after this game. 3 more games, and then we have the crunch time crew to knock out. Take you guys straight to lock. Of course, more news will be breaking. Did we get an update on Barton? Is Barton really projected for 30? Or no, you're being sarcastic there, Derek, in chat. I'll check and see if we've updated our Toronto projections. Philadelphia, Golden State, 234 is the total premier game. We have incomplete news, right? Golden State, really, really good at home. They're 5-point favorites here against Philly. We don't know about James Harden. He's currently questionable. I think he's like legit questionable. We don't know about Embiid. I think Embiid plays. That's my guess. He did practice. Harden did not practice. Jalen McDaniels, for what it's worth, also questionable. Golden State, nothing new here. Gary Payton coming back fairly soon, not tonight. But Wiggins is still out for the Warriors. And, another game here, Bobby, where I don't think we're getting a lot of ownership. I'm just firing. And this stuff for sure would change if he got Harden out. Maxi's been priced up, but there's still some more meat in that bone, I suppose. And I think we have it at them we can talk about. Draymond is getting the most ownership in this game at 12%. Harden getting 9, pretty good price at 9.5, and Embiid at 4, which, salary cap reasons, but he's just destroying the world, assuming he's healthy. Philly, Golden State, go for it.
Yeah, so if Harden out, Embiid's going to be a great play. Harden missed shoot around, Embiid was at shoot around. You hit it on the top at the top of the show. I think Embiid's a really strong play at 11.8. I think he's going for this MVP, so I don't mind getting to Embiid. Actually, for me, I think he's probably the best play on the slate, bar like for whatever the situations that ends up being, like stuff I'm looking like basically our like combination of some stuff I have in terms of like our stuff and my Sims. Embiid looks like the best play. Tyrese Maxey on the other like if either one are out, Harden or Embiid is also a very strong play. Don't mind him. I think Tobias Harris is also in play if either Embiid or Harden are out. Same with Melton. Paul Reed isn't going to start. If he did and Embiid was out, I think that would be someone you'd want to get to. It'd just be difficult because you're probably going to have center locked up pretty much by this time on the slate. And then, yeah, on the other side, Golden State, not really interested in too much. I think maybe Kevin Looney at 5.2. I think he's fine. Draymond, he's a price play at 6K. But most of my allocation of exposure is going to be on this Philly side.
Yeah, as far as ownership, yeah, it is surprising how low everything is. And we'll wait and see. We did get an update as far as Toronto, if you're curious. We can kind of jump back there for a second, and we'll do that drawing in a minute. We do have the projections for Toronto, FEV, all the way up to 48 TK points at 8.7K on DK. That looks like a really, really strong play. Pascal looks really, really strong, a 49-point DK projection at 9.3. Again, really, really good. Barton, we're giving 28 minutes to 19 fantasy points at 4.1. Like, I don't need Barton. You can have Barton. He's all yours if you want him. Not playing him here. OG is 6'4", 32 fantasy points. Pirtle, 41-point projection. That's really strong. Man, I feel like you need a couple of these Raptors, but if this game fully blows out, which it certainly can. But again, this team also lost to Indiana last time out at home. Detroit's terrible, but they get paychecks too. We're giving Boucher 24 minutes and 24 fantasy points at 4.5. So he's not like an incredible math play, but I think you gotta get a sprinkle in tournaments for sure. Anything interesting to you as far as those Toronto projections? You agree, disagree? anybody catch your eye, but the Raptors look good.
They all look good. Podol, Van Fleet, Siakam, Boucher, like you said previously, I think they're all very strong plays in this scenario.
All right. Producer Steve, we talked about it a couple times. Hopefully the people have jumped in. I assume we're out of accepting any more names, but let's spin the wheel. Let's get ourselves somebody 1 week free. RotoGrinders Premium. Steve, you're with me?
I am here.
We're giving it a spin. Oh, I minimized the page, and now I can't see the names. So, Bobby, you got to read who the winner is, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Right.
How are we doing? Yeah.
I'm going to spin it.
We're going to give it a spin, and whoever pops up, and if you're watching the show, what the people can see, or I guess Steve, you can just call it out. Feel free to call it out.
All right, here we go, guys.
Dramatic music. Insert here.
Okay,
I don't know if we get copyright for that.
I don't know how to say Big ZYWS.
There you go. Big Z.
Congratulations.
Free week of RotoGrinders Premium. Is that what it is? Free week, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And that's not just basketball. That is all the sports. Everything. You get the optimizer. You get the projections. You get the the tags. Everything we have. Expert survey. The expert rankings. All that good stuff. A week free. All the way up to the start of MLB season, which starts on Thursday. Somebody will contact you in the Discord. Maybe producer Devin. He tends to do that. Not to put that on him. I'm not sure if he's lurking today. Maybe producer Steve. We'll knock it out. We'll make sure you get yourself a week free. Let's move on. There are the 2 games left. We're actually on good time. That's amazing. There's been no shenanigans in this show, Bobby. We have not gone off the rail one bit. And I don't want to blow it now. It's like a perfect game in the 7th. We shouldn't be talking about it. We should just keep on powering through, I suppose.
Yeah.
Chicago and Portland. 222 is the total. Portland is like a 5-point dog here. Like this Lillard news. Is he legit hurt? Are they just going to sit him at home for a Friday night game? Like they might. Midday downgrade is never good. They did say they're going to basically sit him at some point. Maybe he's getting sat down. And can we wait it out? Because there's a lot of good stuff, but things will open up for sure. We got to get that Ryan Arcidiacono revenge season going. But Lillard is questionable. If he plays, by the way, if Lillard plays, he's phenomenal, right? Anthony Simons is out. Jeremy Grant's out. Nurkic is doubtful. I assume he's not going to play basketball. Nasir Little, he's expected back. So somebody actually back for Portland. Chicago, no DeRozan. Alex Caruso, I believe he's still questionable with his foot. And Javonte Green is questionable as well. This is a game I think we have to acknowledge. You said before that Phoenix Sacramento was your least favorite amongst the 4 in the 10 o'clock window. So that means you must like Chicago, Portland to some degree. It's kind of a headache, but I think there's some good stuff that if you can kind of get this right. What are you seeing as far as the Blazers and Chicago?
Yeah, I think Lillard's a good play if he does play. But for me, this is where I think we're going to find a lot of value on the slate in terms of Drew Eubanks at 3-4. I think it's a good matchup. I think he's a very strong value piece. So he's someone that I'm going to be looking to get to in a lot of my lineups. Then on the other side, Caruso, Kobe White, these value pieces I think are fine with DeRozan out. And obviously Levine and Vooch, they're going to get bumps. Don't mind any of those guys. Shadon Sharp, the price tags come up. We've seen him have a fantastic game the other day. He's up to 5-4, but I still think he's playable as well. So I think this game's interesting. Definitely with the value Eubanks brings to construction, how you can kind of utilize him within construction, I think he's someone I'm prioritizing on this slate.
I want to see if we have an if-then for Lillard. I think we do, and I'm giving that a refresh. If Lillard doesn't go, the best DK value, we're expecting Cam Reddish. So Cam Reddish kind of got buried last game, which is strange. But it looks like he would get unleashed to some degree. Let's see. We're giving him 33 DK points if Lillard doesn't go. We're giving Sharp 35 if Lillard doesn't go. Watford 38. Eubanks 26. Arcidiacono was kind of joking, but we're giving him a 23 fantasy point projection if Lillard doesn't play. We're giving him 34 minutes because he kind of sort of would have to. And Thibault is still not a positive value. But Yeah, if Lillard doesn't go Sharp instead of DSJ. It's the question from Matt in chat. That's the thing about waiting, right? I think I like DSJ more. Sharp's minutes will be more secure. We probably won't know this when this Dallas game tips off at 8 o'clock. I'm guessing we won't know about Lillard. Maybe we do. Do you have a take on that? DSJ versus Sharp if Lillard doesn't go, if that's even a decision you're allowed to make.
I think it is a decision you should be considering. Him, Pat Bev, they're guys in that range that can beat DSJ, and at the ownership, I think that you should basically consider leveraging some DSJ with guys of that ilk. So I don't mind that play at all.
Derek's got a great question in chat. I don't have the answer to it. Maybe you do. Siakam versus Porzingis now. For what it's worth, our projections. Porzingis at 9K is projected for 51 and change. Pascal for 9.3. A little bit more is projected for a little bit less, 49 DK points. So, I mean, projections will say Porzingis, but game theory and that kind of stuff, right? I imagine Pascal will still be less owned than Porzingis. Porzingis a little bit cheaper. Thoughts as far as that? Both obviously really strong plays.
Yeah, I think I would go Siakam. I still think Porzingis is obviously a great play, but I think for the ownership decrease, I would consider Siakam. That might change. Also, Van Fleet at 8,700. I know it's not the same price, but I think he's in play as leverage off of not really. It would be more like salary leverage, basically, if you're playing one of the Van Fleet. I think Jaren Jackson would be a better example. I think Jaren Jackson at 82 was a good leverage play off Porzingis prior to all this news. So, yeah.
Break says, don't sleep on Brissett. I will be sleeping on O'Shea Brissett. If he beats me, so be it. I will close the laptop and look at tomorrow's slate. He got the start last game. The story was he was in his hometown. So that's why they gave him the start. That's why I remember Brissett popped up as the starter last time out. That was, hometown narratives aren't real. I guess they're still real to O'Shea in Indiana.
They're still real in Indiana, apparently.
Do we talk about Levine? We talked about him top of the show, and you kind of besmirched. But, good matchup here against Portland. The lack of DeRozan, more usage going Levine's way. What's ownership on Levine? What do we have there as far as that? He's priced up a bit, but certainly he can put up like 55 or so. We're projecting him for 48 points and at 8.8K. His ownership is 19%. Vuk, a nice matchup as well. More usage again in the absence of DeRozan just getting 5%. A little trickier when you're center and center only. Levine, of course, multi-position eligibility, shooting guard and small forward. You have a lean as far as Levine at 19%, Vuk at 9%. Patrick Williams getting 17, 18%. That guy he could just disappear no matter what's going on in the court. But like theoretically, he has those moments every once in a while, but he could just not be aggressive, and that's that. You mentioned Pat Bev. Like Kobe White can put 25 points in the bucket if you want to fire at that. I know Caruso's getting some love. Come on, man. He's been playing hurt, and how does he get there? Yeah. I don't think I'm in on Caruso. I guess in a pinch if you need something, but yeah, the rest of the Bulls, what do we have to say here about as far as Chicago, and then we'll knock out the OKC Laker game?
Yeah, I prefer Vooch to Levine. I think our projections prefer Levine. For me, it's Levine. I mean, it's Vooch, sorry. Yeah, Caruso, I've seen him popping. I don't mind Pat Bev. I think Pat Bev's another guy like in that DSJ range that in larger fields. I think Pat Bev could be someone you could ultimately try to fade DSJ with. But DSJ is obviously a great play. Like I'm not saying just go out and fade DSJ. I'm just talking about someone in his price range who I think could possibly beat him. Yeah, be more Vucevic than Levine for me. I think our projections are showing more Levine.
I like in the chat Levine returning to the northwest area. It's not even like home. He's from Levine's a Washington guy, I believe, or a California guy. Oregon, is that close enough? I don't know. Is it friends and family showing up for this one? Not sure. But yeah, hitting all the narratives. There's so much good stuff, man. It's really hard to just oh man, I can't say that word. I'm not going to try to say it. I can't get there. I'm just jamming up every single time. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about OKC and the Lakers. The last of the 10 o'clock games. We don't know about SGA. I think he's officially questionable. It seems like there's a decent chance he plays tonight. They're giving him an abdominal injury. I thought it was just like back-to-back stuff. Poku is back for OKC, which I thought was kind of interesting at 3K on DK. So he's been playing in the G League. It's just opportunity cost and yada, yada. They play so many guys. I'll probably give them some run. I think we're projecting him, at least we were, like 15 minutes or something like that. They played 12 last night in the first half, not including Poco. He wasn't with the team. Just playing too many dudes there in OKC. And then there's the Lakers. There's no LeBron, obviously. D'Angelo Russell's got that hip. He's questionable. The rise of Austin Reeves has been spectacular of late. Of course, Anthony Davis there can certainly be the top scoring player in the slate. Wouldn't shock anybody. Your assessment when it comes to the Lakers versus OKC.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves are two of the strongest plays in the slate, in my opinion. Just if like D'Angelo Russell ends up being out, even Reeves at 6'8", he's been crushing. I don't mind playing him. He seems like he's good. We didn't think it could be a thing, but seems like it's a thing. AD on the other side of that, I think he's in a fantastic spot. The issue for me is like on this OKC side, they play 12 guys. Like I have no real interest in any run backs. SGA is fine. He's going to come in low owned, so it makes sense for tournaments. But for me, the main guys are going to be AD and Reeves. I think I'm going to be overweight to both of them.
Trying to see if we have an if then for Russell. We do. If Russell is out, we are projecting. Man, we have a huge projection on Davis. 58 DK points, 36 minutes. That's a monster number. And we really like Dennis Schroeder. How cheap is Dennis Schroeder? It's like not somebody I really considered today. 4.7 on DK, 5.2 on Fanduel, 4.7, and he would get 34 DK points according to our if then. That's not like our official projection, but that's kind of where it's at right now. It's kind of interesting. I have not considered Schroeder, but yeah, if Russell is out, I think that was a midday downgrade. I'm not certain, but I feel like that happened in the middle of the day, which generally speaking, typically tends to lean on being out. And Reeves would get a 36-point projection on DK, 34 on FanDuel. Trying to see if there's anything else of note. By the way, I did. I'm gonna take one more shot at it now. I'm like 0 for 3. I just want to say this word now for the record. Compartmentalize is the word I was trying to get at. I don't know why I could not say that word, but I had a case of the yips there. I was like Chuck Knobloch around the ball to first base or something like that. Isaiah Joe, if SGA is out, I have not got that far in my thought process, and I think it's still too thin, just with everything else that's on this slate. Have you considered Isaiah Joe? I have not.
I haven't because I haven't considered any of these. They play too many guys. Like you don't need to go there.
How many are we projecting? Are we projecting 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We are projecting 13 guys. Now we're giving Star 2 minutes and Trey Mann 2 minutes. Like obviously these guys you would never consider, but just they're stealing minutes from somebody else. We are giving 16 to Poku for what it's worth. Just thought that was interesting. Any other questions in chat? Yeah, Joe Ingles' revenge. I thought that was kind of interesting, Javon. I wish it was on a different slate, but it's not insane. And again, Joe is a guy that likes to yap on the court, so he's going to be trying. In the absence of Middleton, the team knows it. They're well aware. He spent a lot of years in Utah, so I can. Who knows how to quantify that stuff? But I'm not going to say he can't play it, but it's a tough slate to unleash it. Anything else we should say before, we got a few minutes till the crunch time guys come in. I believe it's Andy. And, I think it's TJ. TJ will come in and make sure we get those likes up. Hit the like button while you guys are hanging out before the crunch time team comes in. So be impressed, TJ, with all the likes. Otherwise, he will give me a verbal lashing, which is never. It's humiliating, to be honest. And that's not saying anything about Roth. I don't know if you caught the show yesterday. I mean, hearing the way Roth yells at his dog, I can't imagine what kind of verbal lashing he'll give me if I get in the wrong end of Roth as well.
That was literally the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me on air in any form.
So did you actually go back and watch it by chance? Did you subject yourself to it?
I didn't. I was so humiliated that I was like, I'm just going to pretend that never happened.
Yeah, your dog was like eating something on the couch or was getting into some nonsense that was going
Yeah.
on. On National Puppy Day of all days, by the way.
Right. So here's what happened. I could hear, like, the kids were already throwing shit fit, but I could hear my dog up on the counter eating the food that we left out. My mic is over this way. So I thought I muted it, and I leaned over to get off camera and just scream at the dog. But I didn't mute it, so I just screamed right into the mic. Like, Remy, get on the little counter.
I think you scared Squirrel and Will pretty good.
Squirrel's reaction, he was just like, pardon me? He was so shocked.
I don't know if there's a blooper reel that the producers are keeping, but certainly want to add that one too. Bookmark that time mark for sure.
Yeah. Blew everybody's eardrums. Good times.
There's a lot for you guys to dig into, so we should probably just yield. Bobby, you got anything else? There's a ton going on, ton of body parts to monitor, massive slates. Anything? Any parting shots for the people before we step aside and make way for crunch time?
No, good luck, guys. Gonna be stay in front of your computer tonight. Can't go away on a Friday night tonight. Watching all of Crunch Time tonight, definitely.
All right, Crunch Time starts now. FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got Roth, you have Andy, you got TJ. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff, as always. Welcome to it. This is indeed Crunch Time, and it is sponsored by FanDuel, and it is the show where I'm joined by two of the sharpest minds in the business. One, Mr. Andy Means. What up, Means?
It is crunch time. It is not just crunch time for tonight in this slate. It is like crunch time in the regular season. Like it's starting. So I was gonna say this later, but like I heard Dean referencing it. You got to get I know a lot of people watch this or are just watching it because it's free, but like now's the time to get premium because we have the what if projections alone are like going to be worth the what if projections, like to know what to expect 3 hours later, and then the actual projections updating later are going to be worth it alone. But then baseball starting next week. So like just get combo and like read Cheese's article and like now's the time. It's crunch time.
It is. It's crunch time. And this is the time of year where like some of these teams are going to play their guys 38, 39 minutes because they need it. And other teams really need the L. And they're like spreading the minutes out where everybody gets like 18, right? Like this is
but then, like time. A lot of those guys are going to be like 3K and take all the shots, and still play like 34 minutes. But yeah, you're right. It's just going to get worse from here. But that's what we're here to do, the dirty work for you.
That is exactly true. Well, we are happy to have you kind of walk us through a cash build, and then we got TJ as well coming in with some GPP hot takes. What up, TJ?
Doing very well, ready for this slate. Did the FanDuel Friday show with Squirrel earlier today, so I feel like I have a nice tournament mindset ready to go. Feel a little chaotic, though, which I guess maybe is good for the news we're still waiting on, leading right up to when we were about to hop on. I have some of my Agents of Fandom team members are at the Cleveland Expo interviewing people, and I wanted to bring it up because, Meansy, I feel like you might appreciate this one. They're about to interview Oscar, Phyllis, Meredith, and Stanley from The Office.
Oh yeah, all about that. We've been knocking that out on Peacock lately because they had the extended versions because we ran through the rerun again, and then we noticed they have like the super fan episodes where it's like 40 minutes of an episode instead of 22. It's been awesome.
What a monster. You've seen the entire season, then you watched it again, and now you're going back and watching for a third time with little added purpose.
Not a third time. Come on. Don't insult me like an eighth time. I'm not like sitting here like staring at it intently. It's like background fodder.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. All right. I'll allow it. Hey, we got to talk about the slate. We like to start off speaking a little bit of FanDuel, and that's because FanDuel is our sponsor on the show. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their delicious bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts, because if you're in Massachusetts, you get the wonderful bonus offer of bet 5, get 200 in bonus bets. So make sure you're doing that and make sure you're giving us that thumbs up, because you're basically thumbs upping the fact that this show is free. So if you like it, if you like that news, thumbs that up. Means I don't even know if it's viable to go through the things that we're waiting for, if that would take the whole show. I don't know. You decide.
It is viable because it's going to matter. So I'm not going to go through what's happened already, except to say that the most very recent stuff was all 3 Toronto guys got ruled out again. Those guys got ruled out 2 minutes after we signed off on the show on Wednesday. And there were some really good plays that came as a result. And I mean, all but Will Barton did pretty well. So those guys are all out again. We'll talk about them. A lot of this stuff is going to be, especially at this point in the day, a lot of this stuff is going to be late game related. Dame got the midday downgrade, and that just screams, all right, tank is starting today. We're going to start the tank today because Nurk got downgraded to doubtful. They already have Simons and Grant out, so we'll talk about them. Embiid and Harden are questionable in the late game, so it sounds like Harden is more likely to miss than Embiid, but you never know with Philly. And SGA got listed as questionable today. It doesn't matter too much compared to the rest of the slate as far as like where that's going to land on the priority list. And then D'Angelo Russell got a midday downgrade to questionable. And I heard Dean talking about that right before we hopped on. Some pretty good projections in our what if projections on some other Lakers. So those are the main ones I'm looking at as far as what we're still waiting on.
Okay, very good. I got a question from Martin. Brogdon being out, does that make White a strong play? Or is this just like, sure, tournament, but not to the level of this other news?
Yep, not on this slate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Let's dive right into it then, Means. Let's talk a little FanDuel cash, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah. One other one, because it's the first guy I'm going to talk about. It'll matter a little bit, I suppose. That's just going to make the really good play an even better play. But Kelly Oubre is also questionable for Charlotte. They had 3 guys leave the game last night and not return. Rozier, who's doubtful, Oubre, who is questionable, and Dennis Smith, who is probable. We got news that John Morant's playing off the bench again, so that's not great for his minutes. So Dennis Smith is of those 3 is probable, and LaMelo's out, and Rozier's most likely out. So he becomes a really good play and will become an even better play if Oubre is out. So he's where I'm starting. I'm telling you guys right now, if you're one of those guys who just plays the slate by clicking the build button and just playing what it spits out, do not do that tonight. It is going to tell you the game.
Kyrie Irving is in, and Tim Hardaway Jr. is out.
Okay, yeah, that's not going to move the needle too much then. Don't do that. Like Dame's, it's going to want you to play Dame, and I do not feel good about him playing. Mm-hmm. So if I'm one of those people who does that, I would go to the what if projections, put those in lineup HQ, then hit your build button.
Yeah, because
that is more realistic of what might happen tonight, in my opinion.
Okay, very good. I did get a question, Means, right before you dive into it with the play-by-plays. Already, Joe in the Discord says, is it smart to just fade the 2 7:00 games with the kind of news that we're waiting for?
Good question. The only guy I'm playing out of that would be Zinger, and we'll get to him. He's a really, really shrunk spend up, and I'm trying to think of who would be if I could tell you now and make up the news of stuff we know about and say this guy's out. I don't think I could come up with a better spend up than him.
Gotcha.
I mean, if there'd be stuff on par. Like if Dame plays, he'd be on par with him on FanDuel. If D'Angelo Russell's out, AD would probably be on par with him on DK. But I struggle to find where someone's going to be better. Maybe it would be if Embiid is out and Harden plays, but they're both questionable, so and it's late. So I can't bang on that. So I think he is the one. There's other guys who are in play who are cheaper, like Avdia and Monty Morris. Those are the guys I think you wait on.
Because we'll get cheap plays coming late. Yeah. Okay. Very
Avdia
good.
would be the one. Yeah. Avdia would be the one maybe. And I'm saying that because I had this same stance on Wednesday and it bit me in the ass because Avdia, and it could have gone way worse. He had 28 at halftime and he ended with 34 or something. And he was 5K. That could have been way worse. He's literally on pace for 60. And so I'm probably a little recency bias, but and his price came up. I think you can get better. So to answer that question, and great question, by the way, I would say play Zinger, and then I don't think you're touching anyone else. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, let's go walk through a little FanDuel cash build position by position.
Yeah. So DSJ, definitely. Dame, if for some reason you get word early that he's playing, but I would build your lineup as if he's not. So those are the two main ones. And then I think you just play Fred VanVleet, honestly. He's 8'9". And he had a huge role on Wednesday with those guys out. So he would be the spin up I prefer here. There's some other early guys that are okay, like Trey Jones and Monty Morris are in the 5K range. But I think, generally speaking, those guys I just told you are the ones to target. So that's what I'm doing at point guard. Shooting guard. THT, I have him tagged. I know the game log looks rough, but like he was in foul trouble on Wednesday. Like he's been a fantasy point per minute player when these three guys are out. And these three guys, I mean, Laurie, Clarkson, and Sexton. We have him at 28. He could easily play like 32, 33, 34. I think he's definitely one of the best plays on FanDuel. Don't try not to look too much into the game log. Like I think he got his third foul in the second quarter, like 10 minutes left. And he had to play the whole half, the rest of the half. So like there's just play him. I think he's the right play. Spin ups would be Levine. DeRozan got rolled out. So like Levine. Desmond Bain at 7'8" is another guy I like here. Austin Reeves will look a little better or even though he's 7K, if D'Angelo Russell gets rolled out, he's like the alpha on the backcourt now as opposed to D'Angelo Russell. Like look at his stats and it will blow you away, especially when you look at his picture next to it. So I wouldn't play him at 7K probably, but I couldn't tell anyone not to, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So that's the gist of who I'm looking at here. One other cheap guy I'll mention is Pat Connaughton. That's kind of the last piece sort of thing. And he's small forward eligible. Yeah, go ahead.
Gotcha. Let me jump in. I did see a name that's high on the projections. Will Barton starting for Toronto is very, very cheap. Any interest there?
Let me see where we landed on him because he was dreadful on Wednesday. He started and stunk and got passed up in the second half by I think Malachi Flynn. Let me see.
That's scary.
Let me see where he is. He was I'm pretty sure I tagged him on Wednesday after that news came out, and it did not go well. But he was like 3K then. My computer is struggling to load. All right, let's see what Will is at. What are you at, Will? I'm just checking on the screen share before I get it. He is 3.7. Yeah, I mean, we're at 28 minutes and still a really poor projection. I don't think you need it on this slate, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
For tournaments, I think it's great because he's one of those guys I always talk about who's like a compounding play where if he's got it going, he's going to play more minutes. So it's like you're winning twice because you get both. And if he stinks, it doesn't matter because he's not going to do anything. But yeah, I like playing those guys in tournaments, not as much in cash, especially on this slate where I think you can get equal or better. Yeah, good question though, because he was popping big time on Wednesday, not so much now.
Okay, great. Forward.
Yeah, small forward. I mentioned THT here. I mentioned Levine because they're shooting guard. Avdia, but at 6K, especially on FanDuel, probably not. Giannis. All right, so I think you can spend up for him if it works. They're front end of the back-to-back, and it's the hardest back-to-back in the league. It's at Utah, then next night at Denver, both in altitude. It's very common, but it's also one that teams are aware of. So, like, the only concern here is if they get out to a huge lead or even like a comfortable lead, maybe they pump the brakes on minutes for their main guys so they can play them in the back-to-back. Mm-hmm. The hope here would be that it stays close and they just, run them into the ground and maybe they sit them out next time. So, but that's against Denver, so who knows? But I think you can play him because if they do blow him out, you got to think Giannis has a lot to do with it. And it's a fairly, I don't want to say appropriate, it's fairly underpriced for Middleton not being available. So I do like him. Definitely not someone you have to jam in. Yeah, I think that's it. I mentioned a handful of those guys already. So let's go to power forward because I'm probably behind schedule a little bit. So Zinger, I think you're definitely playing Zinger. And then I love Siakam. he had a really big role as well on Wednesday with all those guys out. He's only 9-1. Struggled in the first half, had a great second half. I think you can go here. I like Olynyk at 6'3". I think what was that Monday that all these three guys were out for Utah, and he had like 43 Fanduel points, I think. And price came up, but I think he's in play. You have Eubanks at 4'8", no Nurk. All the other guys aren't out. Like, he's much cheaper on DK, but I think you can play him on Fanduel for some salary relief. Yeah, that's about it there. Let's go to center. A bunch of these guys I just mentioned have center eligibility, like Porzingis, Olynyk, Eubanks. All those guys have it. Jakob Poeltl, though. Like, I know one of Ross boys. I'm pretty sure you've been on the Poeltl train on a bunch of shows that I wasn't on. And then the next day when I'm on, you're like, Poeltl had 50 fantasy points.
That's so accurate.
He had a good game on Wednesday as well. Price came up a little bit, but really like him. I would play him in cash before I play Walker Kessler, who's 7'5". A cheap option maybe be Daniel Gafford, but not on this slate, locking early. So, yeah, I think you either go with one of those power forward eligible guys or probably go Poeltl and put the Zinger at power forward and another guy at power forward. That's it.
Okay, excellent stuff. Means good work for cash build here. But let's talk tournaments. TJ, I'll bring you in, and let's start with kind of an overview of what is your mindset attacking this? Is there certain games you're stacking? Are you kind of picking and popping? What's your game plan?
Yeah, so based on the amount of late news we are still waiting for, my plan is to basically – there's a few teams I'm fully comfortable with just fading entirely. It's Indiana, Boston, Detroit, Houston, Memphis, and even San Antonio in a single entry type setting. If I'm building 150, I have my rule set for all of those teams at a max 1, except for San Antonio, because since there are so many great Washington plays, I don't mind running it back with some San Antonio in tournaments. And I want to kind of I'm going to go like partially game by game to start, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
And then for Washington in tournaments, I'm going to be underweight on Kristaps Porzingis, except for when I'm running it back with Spurs in tournaments. I'm looking to play Trey Jones. I'm looking to play Devontae Graham. I'm looking to play Mamu. Those are the three guys I'm looking to run it back with. And I'll play Porzingis, Monte Morris, and Denny Avdia all together with one or two of those guys as a run back and play it as a full game stack. Or basically just try and get underweight and only play a guy like Avdia, who I think will play blowout or close game. It's just with Washington basically kind of feeling like, hey, we want to lose games now. We're done. We actually can get lower in the standings for a better draft pick. I could just see if anything minor happens to Porzingis. It could just be like, all right, hop to the bench type of day. I do agree with Meansy. It's a phenomenal cash gameplay, though, because not only is his ownership going to be really high, but even if he somehow only played 22 minutes, he could probably still have 40 fantasy points, and then you're fine. But that's kind of my hope, is that he does play low minutes, only puts up the high 30s, low 40s fantasy points, and I can get away with that in tournaments. The Toronto team is a team that I don't feel any need to run it back with Detroit, but I do still want to get overweight on all of these guys. Siakam, Van Vliet, Poeltl, all three of them are awesome options. Barton, I would like if he wasn't picking up a lot of ownership, but the fact that he is kind of just makes me want to go away. But if that's going to let you get Embiid, then I'm okay with it, because it's very rare you get somebody who's starting and should play reasonable minutes against a terrible defense for under 4K on FanDuel these days. The main three of Siakam, Poeltl, and Van Vliet, those are obviously my go-tos, but Barton you can go to in tournaments, and even Chris Boucher you can go to tournaments as well. There are a group of teams. There are 4 teams, though, that I'm actively targeting today, making sure I have at least one of these players in each one of my teams, and that's the Charlotte Hornets. I'm playing this kind of – I don't have Kelly Oubre in my pool, but I'm going 70% Dennis Smith Jr., and then I'm getting to a few of the other pieces like Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, and even a Svi Mikhailuk as well for if Kelly Oubre is out. And then they're one of my 4 teams that I want to get to a ton of. Next is Chicago. I don't want to get to an absolute ton of them, but I'm going to be getting a ton of Portland. And so therefore I want to make sure I'm running it back with a little Chicago, who is also in a great spot. So the guys like the Carusos, Patrick Williamses, Colby Whites, those are just kind of like the sprinkle in for MME 150s for me. But Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic are going to be priorities. Single entry MME, either one for me today. And then on the Portland side of things, I'm building as if Damian Lillard's out. He's a mid-grade downgrade. I don't think he's going to play. If he does, I'm playing so many guys in the late games that I'm going to be able to get some exposure to him anyways. But as of right now, I'm playing this like Dame is out. And so Sharp, one of my favorite plays on the slates, I'm going to try and like at lock already have like 50% of him. And so I'll for sure be overweight on the field, even if that news comes out with time to adapt. Cam Reddish is my favorite, like one of my favorite values on the slate at 5K. Watford, I think, is great. Eubanks, I think, is fine. Thibault, I think, is going to be fine as well. But Portland is a team I'm getting to an absolute ton of today. I'm playing this, again, because of how much I'm backloading, I'm going to have a lot of time to swap around if I'm wrong. But I'm playing this right now, 10 p.m. game, as if Joel Embiid is going to be in and if James Harden is going to be out. Dennis Smith Jr. available to play. Still nothing on Kelly Oubre. Okay. So Joel Embiid participated in shoot around. James Harden did not participate in shoot around. Based on that, I'm planning on Embiid being in, and I want 20 to 30% Embiid because if he's in without Harden, he's probably going to be the leading raw point scorer on this slate. So I want a ton of Embiid, and if that doesn't work out for me, if Harden's in, or even just if Embiid happens to be out, well, just 30 minutes later, we got a guy just a little bit cheaper in Anthony Davis, who's a phenomenal play today that we can pivot to as well. And that's the other team that I'm trying to get to a lot of is the Lakers. I don't mind the OKC players as runbacks. I like Phoenix against Sacramento today, and I don't mind Sabonis and Fox, but LA is the last team that I really want to target. Anthony Davis, I want to get a ton of in tournaments. Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell was another mid-grade downgrade, so I want to get to a lot of Dennis Schroeder in tournaments, a little Malik Beasley. They're the last team I'm going to be heavily targeting.
Okay, good stuff. I want to talk DK. A conscious machine says, shush, doggy, you're going to trigger Roth. I swear I won't yell at anyone else's dogs, to be clear. Only yelled at my own dog for what it's worth. Means let's go ahead and talk a little DK. What's the move here?
Yeah. Let me get my bearings. Sorry.
Good.
All right. So DSJ for sure at point guard. Then Van Vliet is my second favorite at point guard. Then I would say Drew Holiday at 7-2 is my third favorite at point guard. And those guys all have just point guard eligibility. So it gets a little tricky. I didn't mention him on FanDuel. I'm double checking his price tag. I didn't mention a handful of guys, actually, now that I think about it, as far as like late games. But Schroeder would be a really good option if D'Angelo Russell's out on both sites. And on DK specifically, I think I like Shaedon Sharpe better than Reddish, just based on what happened on Wednesday. It sounds like they're kind of pumping him up and giving him the keys a little bit as they turn the car around and head towards the tank. Our what-if projections are preferring Reddish, and Reddish is cheap. But based on what I saw Wednesday, I kind of am preferring Sharpe. So I didn't touch on those guys, but I'm building it as if Dame's not playing. And if Dame's not playing, I'm going to want at least one of those guys with my preference being Sharpe. So wanted to mention that as I was thinking ahead to the late games that are sure to have some craziness. So that would be it on DK. To recap, DSJ working up, Drew working further up, Van Vliet, and then those late swap guys is what I'm looking at. Plenty of other great plays, but can only talk about so many. So shooting guard, this is actually where I really like in a shell lineup building with Blazers. Double checking, but I'm pretty sure Sharpe and Reddish have shooting guard eligibility. Yes. So I like putting one of those guys in your shell build, and just you're going to have if it doesn't work out, you're going to kind of have to figure it out as far as what projections say on where you go, but I feel pretty confident in Dame being out enough to build with one of those guys in. There's tons of late games tonight that will be able to help you out anyways. 4 starting at 10 Eastern or after, 1 starting at 9 Eastern. So plenty of late games that should be able to help you out there. If you want to spend up though, I think you play Levine here. He's only 8.8. Again, no DDR. I think he's your play if you're spinning up. And then if you want to kind of find someone in the middle there, I'd probably go Bane at 7.7. But yeah, this is a trailblazer position for me, and kind of cross your fingers and hope Dame is sitting out. Small forward, similar to what I said at shooting guard, actually, because all 3 of the guys I basically planted my flag on were 2 Blazers and Levine, and those guys are all small forward eligible. So that's kind of what I've been looking at all day. You also have Avdia there. Again, he's fine. Probably doesn't hurt you, but I think we will get better as the night, progresses. So if you want to just not worry about it, Avdia is fine. But that's basically where I'd be stopping at, hoping for some Blazers, maybe Levine, and then Avdia. Maybe, and then one guy I'll throw out there who's like in a later game in the Utah game is Fontecchio. But like, you can do way better than that tonight. And that's like your worst case scenario if the news doesn't break for you. But he's okay with, he'll probably start with Laurie out. So that's small forward. Then power forward is where I think you're definitely going. You're definitely going Porzingis. You have Siakam here, who I mentioned on FanDuel, who I like here. I think he is 8.9 on DK. No, I'm sorry, he's 9.3 on DK. That's right. I was hoping he was 8.9 because then I could have got to him. Yeah, he's an option here. I'm trying to think if it's anybody. Another reason why it's just definitely Porzingis here. I mean, you can get up to Giannis again. I definitely don't think you have to on DK, where it's a little tighter. Olynyk at 6'6" would probably be a decent option. PJ Washington at 5'9". Normally a guy I like to play on smaller slates or in tournaments, but if Oubre's out, he's going to look even better, and he's already looking okay. So that's what I'd be looking at. Chris Boucher at 4.5. Like if you're at the forward spot and you're like, do I play like a Chris Boucher or a Fontecchio or a Patrick Williams? I would play Boucher.
Okay.
Yeah, that's enough. Center. Zinger, you have Zinger here. Double check. I'm pretty sure it's a Pirtle spot here too. Yeah, 7.2. I like Pirtle here at 7.2. AD is actually gonna. I mean, he was the one guy I was talking about when you asked that question earlier about like spend ups. He already looks really damn good with the way the roster is now. And if D'Angelo's out, he's gonna look even better. And like, man, you just look at the Thunder. Like, there's only like if you look at the guys who are going to be slated to guard him, there's only so much scheming you can do. Like, they just don't have the bodies to take him on inside. If like he's aggressive tonight, he could have 65 points without really even trying. 65 fantasy points, but maybe 65 real points for all.
Right. And 10-5, like
that
seems
not
pretty good.
It does not feel that expensive, right? Yeah.
Right.
So like if you're thinking of like who am I spending up for tonight besides Porzingis? I mean, he might be like, of the other options, he might be 1A. Like the stuff I have now is more like a handful of 7 or 8K guys and not him. But if I can figure out a way to get him, that would be great. Yeah, so that's it. Zinger, Pirtle, AD. Oh, forgot one, obvious one. Eubanks at 3.4. Like, he's way cheaper on DK. Like, it's been this thing where when Nurk originally went out, his price was just going like this, and then he was up in like the 5s. And then Nurk came back, and so his price has been going like this, and now he's down 3.4, and Nurk's probably out. So it's just one of those things where it's kind of like the perfect storm of getting him at the right time. Like I don't think he has crazy upside, but I do think like on a good night, he can get you 30. So I don't think it's one of those like, oh, I'm going to get my 20 points out of him tonight and like be okay. I think he can get you 30 on a good night. So I don't think it's like too thin, quote unquote.
Right.
Maybe stuff better opens up. And then another tricky part is like, he's just center only. AD's just center only, Pirtle's just center only, so it becomes a positional thing. But yeah, I think actually he's one of the better cheap plays on the slate. So like he's in my shell build right now.
Okay. Good stuff. TJ, let's talk DK. What's different? I feel like maybe not much the way that you're kind of planning and plotting. You're muted.
Sorry, dogs were barking before. I'm sorry, Roth. It was the dogs. It was the dogs. It was the dogs. Yeah, very similar to what I'm doing over on FanDuel. I'm just planning on mostly late loading my lineup so I can late swap if news drops. And so it's still the same 4 teams in terms of Portland, Chicago, the Lakers, and the Hornets that I'm getting the most of. And then Washington and Toronto are the early teams that I'm still trying to get in my lineups as well. On DraftKings, where he's cheaper, I currently have Sharp in 70% of my lineups. Sharp and Dennis Smith are the 2 guys that are like, this is great no matter what else breaks. Obviously, that's contingent on Lillard, but Smith, it's no matter what else breaks on the slate. And Sharp, if that Lillard news drops, is just going to be kind of on another level today. So those are the 2 that I have the most of. And then Reddish, Eubanks, Levine, Avdia, as well as some of these Lakers and Toronto plays are just all 30+ percenters for me. So at guard, if I'm not playing Sharp or Dennis Smith Jr., I'm holding in a spot late for Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reeves, Tyrese Maxey, or getting somebody early like Fred VanVleet. And then at the shooting guard position, you can throw in Cam Reddish to that list and take out DSJ because he's obviously not eligible there. But the rest is basically the same, plus Zach LaVine, somebody I'm getting about 40% of tonight. At the forward position, LaVine is eligible there as well. Reddish and Avdia are 2 guys I'm playing a lot of. Gordon Hayward, I'm going to be getting close to 30% of today. Shavim Mikhailuk, assuming that Kelly Oubre is going to be out, I'm getting a lot of today. And then I'm
40% Gordon Hayward?
30% Gordon Hayward today.
Ooh, okay.
They got like 9 players available,
nobody.
and like he's going to have to score a bunch of points, especially if Oubre is out.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, this is more Gordon Hayward than I would like if Oubre is in, and I will be pivoting off quite a bit of it, so I only get 10-15% if Oubre is in. But if Oubre is out, then I might even try and get a little bit more than that. And everywhere else at that position, I'm just looking to kind of differentiate. A little bit of Klay Thompson because he's got upside, a little bit of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown because they got upside. Guys like that. Power forward position, Avdia, Pascal Siakam are my 2 favorite ones for tournaments. Just like the reason I like Avdia versus Porzingis is I think Avdia still gets run in a blowout, whereas Porzingis is the first guy pulled off of the court. Don't mind some other Raptors like a Chris Boucher, a lot of sprinkles like Draymond Green, Patrick Williams, Troy Brown Jr., not very much Giannis Antetokounmpo, but just a little bit in there. But for the most part, this position is going to be occupied for me by Denny Avdia, Pascal Siakam, or PJ Washington. And then at the center position, Drew Eubanks, I'm getting a ton of just because he's such strong value. Anthony Davis is going to be one of my highest owned spend ups on the slate, if not my very highest owned spend up on the slate at about 30%. And then Pirtle and Vucevic and Joel Embiid are the next 3 that I'm looking to get to a ton of.
Okay, very good. We got some questions coming in. If you're watching this and you thought, wow, that was incredible free content, you're right. It is free. All you got to do is hit that thumbs up. TJ, what's up?
For what it's worth, this Portland and Chicago game is probably going to be ugly. He's probably only going to be playing 8 to 10 minutes, maybe even less. But if you're playing 150 lineups on DraftKings, put Andre Drummond in 2 or 3 of them. Okay. Because this is a super gross game. They got guys who are ruled out. He may play 16 minutes, and if he does, he could have 30 fantasy points like he did last game.
Okay, very good. Worth noting. Let's see. We got some questions coming in. I like this one from Beantown. TJ, I'm going to give it to you, even though I'm pretty sure I know your answer. Would you rather have Melton with Harden out or Sharp with Lillard out?
Definitely Sharp with Lillard out.
Yeah, that's about what I thought. Let's say Harden is out and Embiid is out as well, which is possible, right? They're both questionables. Then is Melton
I'm prioritizing both at that point. Like the thing is like Melton will fall below Maxey and Embiid in terms of my priorities. But then if you obviously add Embiid out, he still falls behind Maxey for me. But both Melton and Maxey would both be great plays.
Good descriptor. Thank you. All right, let's dive into the old Discord here. Not a ton of questions because I think you guys covered everything really well. But we'll get to it here with a FanDuel cash question. Means it's from NBA DFS. You want Kelly O or a Watford?
That was FanDuel cash.
It was, yes.
If I'm going to stay on brand here and say that I think Dame is not playing, and I'm looking at our what if projections that say Watford is at 37, and then I look at the projections now that say Olynyk is at 32, I'm going Watford.
Okay, very good. And Watford is a name that I've seen a lot of people bringing up, so he is a viable cash option.
Yeah, think about it. He's going to start the 4 for Grant again. And maybe he plays back up 5 minutes with Nurk out. Like, he could play 40 minutes tonight. Like, seriously. And Chauncey loves him. So, like, those are the guys you want to be playing at this time of year.
Okay, very good. FanDuel GPP game theory question, TJ. Using players only in the last set of 4 late games. Is that viable, or are there guys in the early slate, a few guys that are going to get there that you need?
Yeah, I probably still want to get, like, if this is a single entry setting, I probably still want to get one Washington player, maybe a Toronto player, at least one Charlotte player is in there as well. I definitely want to save like at least 4 spots for that late set of games, but there are still some earlier ones that I don't want to completely avoid.
Okay, very good. If Dame is out, would you play both Reddish and Sharp in DK Cash?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Aside in FanDuel Cash means pending later news, would you rather be playing Zinger at power forward or center on FanDuel?
Good question. Trying to think through this one really quickly. I think what I would be doing, because I'm not seeing, unless I'm missing something, I'm not seeing anything that's going to really pop off, because I think Watford's only power forward eligible. Yeah, Watford's only power forward eligible on FanDuel. I think the move is to play Zinger at power forward and play Pirtle at center, honestly.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Top 3 studs, both of you, on FanDuel means your top 3 spend-ups.
Zinger. Ooh, this gets tough on FanDuel. Zinger, Van Vliet, and it's tough. Man, that's a tough one on FanDuel. Can't say, yeah. Man, I'll go Levine just for positional stuff.
Okay. TJ, favorite 3 spend-ups on FanDuel?
Levine, Embiid, and AD.
Very good. Okay. Getting a bunch of new names coming in. I'm going to jump quickly over to the YouTube chat just to bring some of these names up. Like Hoosiers Hang Banner says, I haven't heard any love for Dort. TJ, you got any love for Dort?
Not love. Definitely not love. I'll see if I have him in any lineups. No, he is in the pool, but he did not make any of my lineups.
Okay. Meansy, I assume that exaggerated response was not that the question was ridiculous, but rather that you find the username Hoosiers Hang Banners to be fairly ridiculous.
You were accurate.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I said. It was a very quick reaction, so I assumed I hadn't even finished the question yet. Let's see. Fontecchio and Siakam, TJ, or Sharp and Pirtle?
Sharp and Pirtle.
Ingles or Barton, last piece FanDuel cash means?
Ooh. Yeah. I'd probably go Barton, but if you like narratives, Ingles is playing in Utah tonight. We'll see how much narratives hold when Joe Ingles is the one we're talking about.
I like it. I think it's a good chance that they hold, actually. I approve. Javon Watt says, Goodwin for value on FanDuel? Anyone?
I like that in tournaments, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any love for P-Bev here's a P-Bev in a FanDuel GPP?
I guess about the same. Like I like Goodwin a little bit more than P-Bev, but I don't love either of them. Both are guys I wouldn't consider in a single entry, but I would have pieces of in MME.
Okay. Alan says we're going to clip that, by the way, means when Joe Ingles has a career night, when he drops 40 real-life points, triple dubs. Whoa. That's right.
Oh,
that's
okay.
right.
40 and a triple dub. Okay.
Yeah. Don't clip that part. That's going to make me look like an ass when he has like 7 points. Is Giannis a lock tonight? He had 54 DK points in 24 minutes last game. Meansy, I will let you discuss that while I get back into the Discord.
No, I don't think he's a lock. I mean, I mentioned the risk earlier. I love Giannis as much as anybody, and I like the FanDuel price tag, and I like the way he fits. But I don't think he's a lock now. There's risk.
Okay. Luke Cage says, TJ, how much Christian Wood do you have in a DK GPP? Is Luka and Kyrie back in though?
Yeah, they are both back in. Hayward is out. I did try and have him in the pool and just try and get him in one or two lineups in case he does one of his 50 points in 24 minutes because it's Charlotte and he could. But just Optimizer didn't spit out any of them for me. It's just I'm forcing it to give me so much of other teams that he just didn't fall into any lineups for me.
You notice how he asked you about he put his first name in front of him when you asked you that question, right? You notice that? Go reread the question and take away his first name.
Hang on. I did actually miss it completely. You're right. I should, you're right. I could have read that better, I suppose.
Yes. No, you read it. You read it properly. You read it PC. I'm saying he put the first. It's not like he said, "How much Damian Lillard do you have tonight?"
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's a good point, Luke. Yeah, good work. Yeah. That's good work. Here's the issue: like they only use him and give him minutes if they're lacking one of their offensive studs. I feel like, and THJ does not qualify. I feel like he's not going to get the minutes again, but we'll see. DK GPP. Simone Fettuccini or get off the counter, Chris Boucher?
Get off the counter, Chris Boucher.
Yeah, all right. DK Cash, your favorite three centers means it's Eubanks, it's Pirtle, and then there's a spend up that it's Zinger.
AD. Well, AD Zinger has power forward, but yeah, AD is just center only. So yeah, those are four easy choices. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Means any feel on SGA status? Would you prefer Jalen over Giddey, being that a lot of good plays are cheap at point guard on FanDuel, and he could get a minutes projection bump? Didn't see any OKC what ifs.
Yeah, I don't think that was a late ad. I don't think that made the cut. I love Jalen Williams, and I think he's the play over Giddey. So if SGA is out, yeah, that would be the short answer. In the scope of the whole slate, I don't think they would get into the primary stuff. But that's kind of just speculation. I honestly haven't dove into it too much.
Okay, very good. Achilles says DK Cash means Eubanks, Hayward, or Gafford Boucher. You got less than a minute until lock. It snuck up on me.
I would do the first one for flexibility.
Jep says I'm locking in Van Fleet, Zinger, DSJ, and saving 5 spots for late games in a DK GPP. That okay with you, TJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We like it. Mike says, after lock, we're close enough. Would love to see Roth with a random yell at cheese during baseball season, which that would not go well.
A week from tonight is the overlap.
God. Right. And how many overlaps? Do we know how long the overlaps last?
Regular season's over April 9th, which is a Sunday. No, I'm not counting down. What are you talking about? So that would be, depending on day games of baseball the next week, I don't know. At max, it would be 9, 10?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Get a week and a half or so. All right. By the way, if you guys were not aware, with baseball season starting up, these crunch times, once baseball season begins, become crossover shows where we do both basketball and baseball. We have both Meansy and usually Cheese or another baseball expert. It's a lot of fun. It's pure chaos. Yeah.
Cheese just makes fun of me because at that point in the year, I don't even know who half the players are. Okay, I do, but he makes signs and he's like, "Who's that?" And and he's drawing while I'm talking basketball. It is high comedy, if I do say so.
It's definitely worth tuning in for. So make sure you are sticking around with us as we move on into baseball season.
The first time he did that, I couldn't finish my analysis. I was laughing so hard. I literally could not finish what I was saying.
It's pretty good. It's good to have him in here for comic relief when you and I are just randomly talking basketball because he knows literally nothing of he knows literally nothing about basketball. It's amazing.
And still wins.
Yeah, and can still crush. Worth noting, as Michi mentioned, look, premium combo package. Now's the time to get it as you get all the sports. So make sure you're checking that out. We have hit the lock. I'm going to make sure nothing came in there post-lock over on the RG Discord. And I think we are good to bounce. So for Means, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.